Do you want to know the 7 secrets of human health? Hint, it's all about function, how these systems function in your body. And this was a major game changer for me when I learned it. If you want to know more, watch the video. Hi, I'm Jesse. This is my channel, Open Source Owners, where we talk about the idea of what if humans had an owner's manual. Okay, so without further ado, the 7 systems of functional medicine. So let me back up. Functional medicine is a branch of medicine that you can study and get independently verified through, and you can get credentialized through. You do not have to be a doctor to get a functional medicine degree. You can be a nurse practitioner, you could be a psychiatrist, you can be a social worker. There's many skill sets that could be folded under the functional medicine umbrella. Now, what functional medicine is from the late 80s to the early 90s, the people who founded functional medicine, the great Jeffrey Bland, in particular, started to recognize there was these patterns in the medical research that had been coming out, and those patterns ended up falling into 7 buckets, and those ended up becoming the 7 systems of functional medicine. And we'll talk more about how these all fit together, but I think this is a really sort of important upgrade to our approach of understanding human biology and ultimately human health. And without these 7 systems, I think we're sort of like hobbled in how we can really fully understand where disease comes from, how chronic disease forms, and of course, ultimately, how to deal with and reverse things like chronic disease. So those 7 systems are assimilation, we'll talk about this more in a second, biotransformation and elimination, defense and repair, structural integrity, communication, energy, and transport. So those systems of the body, that means the body functions. Now, because we live in a very complex biological machine or creation, if you will, all of those systems interact with each other. It's a network interacting with, or it's systems interacting with systems to create a hierarchical network that is your body and the ability to be alive and do all the things you got to do to be alive. So even though these are in distinct systems or distinct buckets, they of course interrelate to the other buckets. So let's get into specifically each one and get a little bit better sense of what each of those 7 systems do. So assimilation, this relates to systems of digestion, absorption, the microbiome, gastrointestinal tract, and respiration. When these systems aren't working as they should, all sorts of issues can arise, such as IBS, which many people know about and suffer with, constipation, diarrhea, etc. Beyond these symptoms, new research is also exploring a link between unhealthy gut microbiome and conditions such as depression and motor neuron disease. Now, that's my more area of expertise, is the mental health component. And I will say at this point that the research is robust in terms of the connection between gut health and general assimilation health. Think of assimilation just as being able to pull out nutrients and minerals from food and raw materials, including even different parts of the body, but to use them in a functional way. So we have to, it's not good enough just to eat food and then digest it and poop it out. We have to pull out the minerals and the nutrients and let those be the building blocks of all the things that the body must do. Now, the great builders are the microbiome. The small little guys build all sorts of structures, including our neurotransmitters, or at least most of our neurotransmitters. I won't even say most. At least some of our important neurotransmitters are built by those little guys, and they're built using enzymes. So enzymes, you can think of enzymes as like very specific tools to like screw things together or disassemble things. And so assimilation is obviously very important, connected highly to things like depression, anxiety, and motor neuron disease, things like MS, Parkinson's, stuff like that, okay? All right, biotransformation and elimination, what's that all about? So this is the system that processes and excretes metabolites from the body. In addition, the system also chemically modifies substrates to allow their removal from the body. So getting rid of things, altering metabolites in the body. When this system is functioning as it should be, waste products are efficiently removed from the body via the gastrointestinal tract, urinary tract, and skin. Toxins are eliminated efficiently when functioning well. Genetically, if someone doesn't have the most efficient detoxification mechanism, the body may experience increased toxic exposure, nutrient insufficiencies, metabolic dysfunction, and intestinal symptoms. So this is our, when people talk about a new detox diet or a detox fad, we got a detox. They are really riffing on the fact that we have natural detoxification systems, and the sophisticated read on like the detox diet sort of thing is that, yes, of course we have detoxification systems, but genetically some of us are predisposed to not having, certain SNPs that allow us to detox well. And so that's one piece of it. There's a genetic sort of pressure for some people to really get help with the detox. But the other piece is we live in an incredibly toxified world with man-made toxins, which are called toxicants. And because of that, because there's so much coming in through the water, through the air, through our food that is sort of non-natural, man-made synthetic chemicals, that if they've been researched at all, have certainly not been researched in synergy. What happens when you're eating not just one pesticide, but 5 or 6, plus some hormones, plus some trace pharmaceuticals in your water supply? That puts a pressure on the body to eliminate certain things. And the body is very sophisticated at knowing what it needs to take and use and break apart and eliminate because it's toxic or it's non-useful. And the body has many mechanisms to eliminate things. But again, if there's an overburden and a genetic susceptibility of toxins and living in a sort of stressful environment, etc., then this system can sort of break down. And as it does that, then we get the issues of toxic exposure, nutrient insufficiencies, and those can cascade down to like depression, anxiety, having ADHD. I'm sure this relates in some way, shape, or form to things like autism. This relates to many other chronic diseases that we face. You have to make sure that this system in the body is working well. All right, system number 3, defense and repair. So our immune system in some way, shape, or form. This relates to immune system repair mechanisms that evolved to prevent infections and help restore an infected body. Inflammation is a common response mechanism used in the body's defenses. When these systems work as intended, we avoid illnesses and recover quickly from infection. But when the immunologic response is prolonged or misplaced, or when the process occurs in response to our own body and not a pathogen, aka autoimmune, when the inflammation becomes chronic, the result can produce major dysfunction in any of our systems. And this can cause major problems such as heart disease, diabetes, or a wide range of autoimmune diseases. So this is really related to the defense and the repair system. And that chronic inflammation is a real big takeaway from this section. For some time in the natural health space, so functional medicine doctors, naturopathic doctors, and biohackers, and that type of community, chronic inflammation was the number one, like if you had to pull one thing out, that's the most important thing to sort of like address, it would have been chronic inflammation. And maybe it still is for some people. Certainly it's right up there. Inflammation is not bad. Inflammation is redness, swelling, pus, etc. that helps the body remove something that shouldn't be there. Chronic inflammation, though, leads to things like heart disease, diabetes, autoimmune diseases, and of course, many of the mental health dysfunctions. There's a theory of where depression comes from that basically is chronic inflammation called the cytokine theory of depression. And cytokines are just inflammation markers that are actually useful. They are meant to help the body, but if there's prolonged cytokine activation, then that sort of indicates that we're in a prolonged period. The body is sensing that there's danger and it's trying to get it out all the time. And that's exhausting to the body and it taxes all the systems and it can lead to breakdowns of different systems in the body. Okay, next one, structural integrity. The structural integrity system relates to the integrity of the organelle membranes, the cytoskeleton and the cell membranes, the alignment of the bones, ligaments, muscles, and tendons, and the structure of the major organs. So structure actually matters. We want to have an intact, healthy lipid bilayer of the cell. We want to have a spine that works well and isn't bent so that nerve supply is functioning and healthy and not strained. Anytime you mess with the structure of the human body at the macro or the micro scale, you're potentially messing with its function. In fact, you have to be messing with the function because the structure connotes function. When structural integrity is optimized, functions such as movement, balance, strength, cognition can reach their maximum potential, while dysfunctional structures can lead to deficits in these body functions and in some cases cause severe pain. So common problems that involve dysfunction and structural integrity include osteoarthritis, osteoporosis, neuropathy, and chronic pain. How many people do you know that have chronic pain or neuropathy, some type of dysfunction in the structural system that causes a hardship in their life, right? So structural integrity is a separate system from the others, very, very important, and of course it influences the other 7 systems. Communication is the next one. Communication relates to all the signaling interactions that occur within and between cells thanks to things like hormones and neurotransmitters and immune messengers. Cells are constantly in contact with their environment, sending and receiving signals. Optimal functioning in the communication system involves cells and organs sending, receiving, and responding appropriately to signals from other cells. And any problems in this area of communication systems can cause and lead to things like depression, hypothyroidism, insulin resistance, and many other conditions in the chronic health world. So communication being the primary feature of neurotransmitters. So again, in the mental health sort of niche, things like depression and anxiety have long been linked to neurotransmitter function. Things like hope and motivation and drive and resilience also connect to neurotransmitter function. And if the neurotransmitter signals aren't able to communicate effectively, or if there's chronic inflammation that's miscommunicating, then of course we're going to suffer in those areas. We're going to have things like unknown origins of our depression or our anxiety or our distractibility or our low motivation. And it could just be that this system in the body is not functioning well. And then we can learn to optimize it. Energy system, very important. Energy in the body is produced by the mitochondria, amongst other things, which captures the energy from breakdown of nutrients and transforms the energy used by the body, called the ATP, which is closely involved in energy transfer. This process requires a coordination of hundreds of metabolites, usually vitamins and minerals. A deficiency in these metabolites creates energy imbalances in the cells, which can ultimately affect how tissues, organs, and systems function together. So that is the energy system of the body. You can see how important it is that we're synthesizing what we eat, taking the nutrients and the other metabolites out of that, and feeding the mitochondria so they can in turn generate basically limitless energy to do all the things we need to do, to cognitively function, to creatively function, to relationally function. Energy is a really critical system of the body. Okay, last one, transport. The transport involves the movement of molecules within cells, between cells and tissues, and throughout the body. Issues with transport, including structural integrity, can cause dysfunction in the cardiovascular and lymphatic systems of the body. And when materials cannot be transported efficiently through the body, then the metabolism slows, and this leads to problems such as heart failure, hypertension, kidney disease, and a whole host of other chronic diseases. So those were the 7 systems of functional medicine, and how those interact with each other offers you and I and everybody we know a lot of hope to actually resolving root cause of disease, root cause of chronic pain, the root cause of dysfunction. And that is something that sort of allopathic mainstream medicine is not fully engaged in yet. They're more still focused on one ill for every pill, right? Or some type of surgery, or some type of like, you have depression, so you therefore have a serotonin imbalance. We'll do antidepressants. Well, it's not sophisticated enough quite often to address the actual systems that underline why somebody has depression or heart failure or diabetes or chronic disease of any type, right? So functional medicine is often called root cause medicine, and it looks to sort of test and understand these 7 systems primarily, as well as the things that the antecedents that brought in dysfunction into these areas. Is functional medicine the end-all be-all of medicine? Absolutely not. Are there complementary medicines that actually go beyond this level of understanding to deeper levels of understanding? Yes. Are there bad doctors or practitioners in all aspects of medicine? Yes. So you have to find the right functional medicine doctor that's not, that's really an expert, that's not going to spend tons and tons of money on excess testing, or have you in turn spend tons and tons of money on living on basically just eating supplements all day long. That's not true health. True health is getting us back to a balanced position where we can eat all sorts of different foods and have a resilience to our body, where we can learn to burn fuel from fat and sugar, aka learning to be in ketosis and learning to regulate our blood sugar, and then living according to our own seasonality, where we happen to live in the world, our genetic predispositions, where we came from, and into our ethics. So if we happen to be vegan or vegetarian, we eat in a way that aligns all those systems together. But what we don't want to do, I think, in the functional medicine space is test all the time, spend a bunch of money on testing, never develop intuitive understandings of our own health and our own relationship to food and our own relationship to movement and our own relationship to wellness. That can't be offloaded. But a good functional medicine practitioner can bring your body back into some type of harmony so that it can make decision making and intuitive understandings of your own wellness much more evident. You know, it's really hard when you're in the throes of chronic disease to really understand what's going on and to find your own sort of like intuitive sense of your health. So let's partner then with the best in Western scientific medicine, which I believe is the functional medicine space. So if you've been working with a functional medicine practitioner and you've gotten really good success that hasn't broken your bank but actually has moved the needle on your health, post it in the comments below. We want to hear who the best ones out there are. And by best, I mean they're not going to charge you an arm and a leg for test without getting results. So if you're taking a test, you should be able to turn that into like feeling better in some way, shape, or form fairly quickly. They have an exit plan, so you're not on supplements forever or hundreds of supplements forever. You might need certain supplements forever, and that's related to genetic susceptibility. Sometimes we just do need to supplement what our body can't create. But the goal is to be free from supplements and free from continual testing so that we just live in a way that's in harmony. And we can check in with our functional medicine practitioner, you know, once a year or something, just to make sure there's no anomalies under the hood, so to speak, that we're unaware of at an intuitive level. Okay, so if you liked that video, thanks for watching all the way to the end. I want to give you a free gift, the 60-page ebook that I wrote called The Owner's Manual Part 2. Just click at the link below and it'll come right to your email address. It's a really dense, just information-heavy ebook, and you can add to it if you like, and it's just a good starting point to sort of recognize the complexity of the human being and what it means to really have an owner's manual. It's a very complex subject, and 60 pages doesn't even begin to cover it, but it does give a nice overview of how I conceive of the 4 primary parts of being a human, which is, you know, dealing with the psychological aspect, the biological aspect, which is just what we talked about today, the spiritual aspect, and also the social aspect. So those are the 4 buckets that I think of when I think of being a human. And it's obviously all 4 of those are super complex and they all interact with each other. But this 60-page ebook is a good overview, just general, without being overly complex, but also highlighting how complex each of those systems are. So get that. It's free. It's yours. Thank you very much. And you just finished watching Want to Know the 7 Secrets of Human Health. It's all about function. We need those systems to function. It's not good enough to just know about our energy system or our communication system. How are they functioning? Are they working? And that's what functional medicine is really all about. Hopefully you found that interesting. I certainly did. When I learned about functional medicine and these 7 systems, it made total sense to me. I'm sort of a systems thinker anyway. So it's like, well, yeah, of course you have these distinct systems that interact with each other. And of course, that's what medicine and wellness should be focused on, getting the functionality of the body. Just like I also am a permaculturist, just like you want the ecosystem to function, right? Why is the river polluted? It's not about blaming. It's understanding the systems and cleaning up and encouraging functioning within natural systems. Nature knows how to do what nature does. Nature knows how to flow a river in a healthy way. Nature knows how to birth out of the earth humans that don't need continual surgeries or don't need continual pills to be healthy. So we just have to align with that, learn to begin to cultivate that understanding again. And, you know, a lot of the diseases that we see, especially chronic diseases, will kind of vanish. And I know that maybe sounds like a tall order, but you'll never know until maybe you start addressing these 7 systems of human health. Leave any comments below if you like it. Hit the bell button if you got value out of that. That'll actually boost our channel so other people know about it. So that helps our channel. Share this, of course. Do the YouTube things. And on that note, I will see you in the next video. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a good one out there. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.